Good evening and welcome to Guarneri's Pub and Pizzeria here on Spring Street in St. Mary's. This is Rules of the Game. I'm your host, Zach Farrell. Mark, thanks for joining us. We have a couple more audience members tonight than usual.
Looking forward to it.
We just wanted, before we get started, to give a couple thanks for making tonight happen. First of all, to Guarneri's Pizza Pub and Pizzeria for hosting us here. We got a wonderful crowd. Let's give a round of applause for Guarneri's, please. Also got to give a big, huge shout out to our crew for getting this set up. Doug Spencer, Dave Wabacher, and especially Rich Spencer. Well, this is sort of revolutionary for us being able to go live in St. Mary's, Ohio on anything. So thank you, Rich, for getting this set up.
Good job.
Mark, we had a great Rough Rider victory this week over Bath, and of course we had some clips that we're able to show here tonight.
I hope so.
So we're going to jump right in because tonight is something very special. We're going to ask our audience here in the pub to come out and ask some questions of us. So everybody out there, start to be thinking now of some questions, and hopefully by the end here, we'll have some good questions from the crowd.
Let's hope so.
This first clip. The first clip here was a not enough men on the line of scrimmage from.
All right.
At least that's what I think when I was rewatching it.
Can we freeze that by chance, crew? Let's take a look and see what we're looking at here. So if we count right there, if we can stop it right there, all the rule requires is 5 men on the line of scrimmage numbered 50 through 79. And it looks like we've got at least 7. We got a center, guard, tackle on each side, and appears to be split ends just fine. Now, it looks to be 3 in the backfield. No, wait, there's looks like there's 4 from the feet. So I don't know what's going on here. But for that to be called not enough men on the line of scrimmage, normally they'll let the play go and flag it. But it looks like to me they stopped it after the ball was snapped. All right.
Would it have been something else maybe that I didn't see?
Could have been a false start, and that's
okay.
Probably what it was.
Okay.
Yep, Doug. It's hard to tell from that clip.
Yeah, I didn't see a lot there on it.
It came from the near side wing guy, and maybe the wideout that we don't see.
Maybe he
jumped
flinched
or something along those lines. Let's look at the widest guy and the slot.
All the way at the bottom of your screen.
And maybe they got the back for leaning. So
okay,
probably a false start.
Okay, wasn't sure when I was looking at that what was the call. So I'm glad you had a chance to look at it there and let us know. This next play was a holding or a block in the back. It was actually called. This was a great play of the game. Ty Howell ran back a punt for a touchdown. At the very end, on the right side of your screen, you're going to see a holding or block in the back call on St. Mary's.
Oh, yeah, I see that. So they pushes the kid out of bounds there? Is
right.
that what we're talking about?
I think so. That's where the flag then came in by the back judge.
Well, let's just see if we can run that again. It starts out well enough. And then right there, maybe. That's hard. We got a flag then coming up back up field here. So did they call it way back? Did they bring it way back?
I remember back in the they called that all the way back. It came back.
So it was probably there was a player that made contact a little bit further up the field here, and when after they snap it and we see it start to return, it's towards the middle of the screen, and that's probably what the call is, right about there. That may or may not have been enough. That doesn't seem like it's a lot, but maybe it was enough to spring the ball carrier and if you let it run, the flag comes in about right there.
And I thought it was odd from where he was throwing it from, too. Yeah. It was all the way it was from that back judge, way back there.
If it was the call for running the kid out of bounds, the official would have had to see the initial contact.
Okay.
Because once you pick up that player and he's already in contact, you don't know how he got there. So
okay.
You're supposed to let that one go. So it might have been a great call. Maybe not. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, very tough. All right, this next call, we had a holding that was called on number 3 for St. Mary's. He's in the fullback position. He goes out there on this off tackle or sweep, and they called that holding right there on number 3.
Yeah, let's take a look at that again. He may have had enough of him to him just enough for the ball carrier to get by. Yeah, it's tough to tell from that angle. He may have had a handful of jersey there, which drew the flag. If he didn't have jersey, it's probably not a great call, but I'm guessing he probably had a handful of jersey. And
we do have another angle here too.
Let's take a look. Yeah, it's tough to tell. He may have pulled him down. It's hard to tell from right.
It did twist him a little bit. I noticed from that angle,
yep.
So
and that's
that
an
may have
play.
given it away more.
Sure. Yep.
All right. On this next one, we had a 2-point conversion try by St. Mary's, and the ball was tipped right after it was thrown, and then they blew it dead. Just wanted to talk about the ball being tipped, how that was called there, and then if the ball being tipped causes it to go backwards behind the quarterback, does that make it a live ball or is it still dead?
No, it's if the ball was thrown initially forward, it's considered a forward pass throughout the down.
Okay.
So the ball was tipped. That doesn't necessarily kill it. They just whistled it dead once the ball hit the ground, and I'm sure it was forward, so it would have been a dead ball, no score.
Okay.
Yep.
The next clip we have here was a illegal man in motion by on Bath. I don't know if I'm using the right terminology, but you can see their running back there starts to move towards the line, and they snap the ball as it's moving forward.
Sure enough. Let's see that again. Because I think what they might have done, because they whistle this down right away. So the proper call there would have been illegal motion.
Okay.
Possibly illegal shift because the back probably never got set. But what they called there to kill it was a false start, and they just killed the play from the start.
And we talked about that last week. You can do that in Canadian football.
Yeah, but you can't do it here.
And not in high school.
Probably they just wanted to prevent anything from the proper call there was an illegal shift or illegal motion, and not a false start.
This next clip we have here is for pass interference. We have a couple different angles of it. This was called on Bath. Just wanted to talk, if you could talk us through it. You can just see it right at the very end at the bottom of your screen.
It looks like there was early contact by the defender. The rules makers took out face guarding a couple years ago, so that's not the issue. My guess is that there's contact here. Oh, yeah, he's touching him and it's all over his hands. In order for that to be legal, there can't be any contact or any way to prevent.
And if the defender wants to improve there, he needs to turn his head around, right?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay.
But what he did there looks like he grabbed an arm of the receiver, and that was just enough to draw the flag. It was a good call.
Okay. This next play, Mark, is a hook and ladder. St. Mary's has gotten very good at throwing these hook and ladders here over the past few weeks. You talked a few weeks back, actually the show with Dave Wildbacher sitting here. You talked to him about if the hook and ladder receiver is in the air and catches it in the air,
right,
he can put it backwards, and that does not complete the catch.
Correct.
If it would fall, it would not be a fumble. It would be an incomplete pass.
Correct.
So St. Mary's ran it. Just wanted to talk.
Let's take a look.
It's really hard to tell, but. And we've got another angle here, but it kind of sets the play up.
It looks like the tip or the throw from the initial receiver was backwards. The official signaled backwards. Let's see if this is a better angle.
Number 85, Austin Parks, gives you a lot of height there to work with.
Good call. If that ball would have been hit the ground, the official would have a tough call because he would have to decide, was it still a pass or was it a catch? And that all depends on whether that initial receiver has come down with the ball and touched the ground with it. So
very difficult to see there.
Little tough to see on that. Yes.
Would not like to have been that official. I'm glad that, and for St. Mary's sake, that it was all completed correctly there.
It was perfectly legal the way it was ran.
Yep. Okay, this next one we had a halfback pass that also resulted in a pass interference down the field. So just wanted to show that.
All right.
I think that it was number 7 again. Double reverse there. Number 7 throws it deep down the field, and they called pass interference on Bath for the grab on number 12.
Looks to be a good call. There was contact early, and even though the ball was overthrown, there's no such thing as an uncatchable pass in high school football. So he launches it there, and apparently there's some interference. I'm doubtful whether the receiver could have caught up with the football, but it was a good call for pass interference.
And as we recall, there is no it doesn't matter if the ball is catchable or not. We have another angle of this same play, though.
Okay.
Want to take a look at that.
Yep. Oh yeah, there's definitely jersey pulls. That's an easy call for the officials. If you're going to make a call, get the easy ones, and that was an easy one.
Next play we have was a almost interception. It's somehow I start to call them this now.
Okay.
But St. Mary's almost intercepted the ball, and they ruled it incomplete. Just wanted to know whether you thought that it was a catch or not.
All right, let's take a look.
We talked before the defenders had the same rules as the wide receivers.
Correct. Everybody's entitled to the football. Ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, obviously, but that really doesn't matter here. It looks like the ball touches the ground from that angle. Doug, can we see that again, possibly? There we go. Let's take a look.
Great job by St. Mary's defense all night, putting pressure on the quarterback.
It might go for a great catch.
Right.
Ball's tipped. Yeah, it certainly looked like it hit the ground there. Tough call.
Yeah.
Mac Judge was looking at it. He doesn't make an immediate signal, but looked like it was incomplete from our angle.
As we say, they always have the closer view on the field anyway. So
correct. That's correct.
Okay, we want to look at this play was the St. Mary's punt rush got blocked into the punter.
Okay.
Or at least that's what was called on the field.
Okay.
So I want you to look at it and see if you agree with that type of call.
Let's
He definitely ran into the punter, so no roughing the punter was called.
All right, it all looks good so far. Here comes the rush. That's interesting. The blocker didn't do much to slow the defender down. That's a tough call for the referee back there.
We got another angle of it, too, that shows interesting, but we'll look at this again. Number 35, the other Howell brother,
he's coming hard. I can see where he got away with it because he kind of pushed him in the back. Is that enough? It was for the official, and it's one of those judgment calls that they pay you the big dollars for.
This is an excellent view of it too here from this angle.
Wow, that's close. I'm not sure that was enough. I mean, the rules basically says, if you're blocked into him, you're probably relieved of the offense, but was that enough? The official thought so, and we're not one to judge here, but it's awful close.
Yeah, I agree. I thought on the field, I was glad it was called that way, but when I watched this, I wasn't so sure.
A little tough. Tough one, yep.
All right, well, fortunately, that went St. Mary's way. So,
Right.
The next play that we have was a holding. We have it from a couple different angles here.
All right.
And I think they caught it on the guy laying on the ground, 29.
29
for grabbing the leg.
Well, let's just see.
So he comes out of the fullback position. We'll have to take a look there. Well, he kind of was just laying on the ground, though, and the guy fell over him.
That's tricky.
Yeah.
They called holding and not tripping? It's holding?
I believe it was called as holding.
All
yeah.
right. Well, let's see if we can pick it up here. Wow, that's hard. That's tough call from behind the play like that. That's, I wasn't on the field. I can't really tell, but from this angle, it looks like that's a tough call to make right there.
Yeah. Maybe they felt bad for
maybe
that from that.
Maybe they did
from that last call. All right, number 12. This is a clip where the St. Mary's defenders flushed out the Bath quarterback.
Okay.
Bath quarterback dropped the ball, and there was kind of a scrum, a pile, and the ball popped out at the end. I just wanted to, if you could talk about when is the ball down when you're in a pile like that.
Let's take a look and see. Quarterback still has it. It's on the ground now. It's tough to tell.
You can see at the end there.
It pops out of there. So the question becomes, did anybody have possession of it on the ground? And it doesn't take much.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't take much to have possession when you're laying on the ground, and then whatever happens after the possession is ruled, it doesn't matter. So it's possible the ball was still bounding around in there and loose. The officials, I guess, thought so because they didn't kill it. and the ball pops out, and it's survival of the fittest at that point.
As an official, and this is another angle, as an official, what are you looking for to be able to tell that there's possession? Do you have to see the ball itself?
We have to see the ball in somebody's possession.
Okay.
Otherwise, if the ball's in a pile like this, it becomes the survival of the fittest at the bottom of the pile. And
Right.
sometimes, somebody will come away with it that you didn't expect, but you don't know that until you unpile it.
It's not enough to just see the ball disappear in the pile.
It's not
you
enough
have to be able to see where that ball is.
You
and
have
that
to
it's
be
in
able
there.
to tell who has it. Yep, when the ball's on the ground.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the last clip we have here is just back to our basics, just a holding call here.
Okay.
So.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah.
You got any idea of who they called that on? Because I'm looking at that trying to figure out what's going on.
I think that they thought that
It got to be the
tight
guard or the
end.
tackle or something, maybe?
maybe the tight end.
Wow.
Oh, right there at the end there.
That's tough because that play only gains a yard.
right.
And, you were a lineman, so was I. You're in there like that. You may have a hold of somebody, but did the play really create a disadvantage? I would tell you that plays down after a yard, there's really no big disadvantage. Or is there really a hold?
I think they called it right there at the end there. Just
Yeah,
that kind of little twisting.
that's exactly what he called, it looks like. But that, truthfully, is the play's over at that point.
Okay.
And yes, the hold may have started before that, but that kid's not going to make the tackle anyway. And so they tell us, there's no advantage gained, leave that go.
It's a little. In other words, it's maybe a little tacky to call it after the play is already over.
It's
there.
a little bit technical, yes.
Technical. Okay.
In my opinion.
All
yes.
right. Well, that's all the clips that we have tonight, Mark.
Well, that's not
Thank you
bad.
very much for getting through those.
Appreciate
and,
that. Yeah.
Even
now,
though the
dare I say,
music on the
we'll open it up
patio
to
has
the
come
crowd.
to an end, Guanerians would like to thank everyone for joining them on the patio on Friday nights.
Oh, we left.
Though the music has ended, stop in and try their signature Big Ralph sub,
Our first
pizza,
question
or
tonight's
calzone.
come from
Guaneri's
football,
on
St.
Spring
Mary's
Street
football
in
coach.
St. Mary's. Give them a call at 419-394-2244.
Right? Well, if there was direct contact to the runner by, let's say
Let's repeat the question for everybody at home.
Coach Long.
So, Coach Long, Denny Long, one of your coaches?
No.
Okay.
Coach Duncan was one of mine.
Okay.
Even though the music-
Former Rough Rider football coach Denny Long had a question as to what are the rule changes that have helped the runners. So when you're in a pile and you're able to be pushed now, how is that different than what?
Well, there's really, to answer his question, there's not a change in pile. And as long as there's not direct contact with the runner, you can have people pushing that pile all the way down the field because the runner gets involved and gets tangled up in that pile. And the rules, they tell us to leave that go if there's not direct contact on the runner. Now,
So was that something that used to get called a lot more?
no, I don't really see it. We had an occasion in our game last week where it was possible because the quarterback took the football and right away the fullback started and pushed him from behind. But the kid was down after half a yard, so did they really gain an advantage? No. I didn't flag it. Could I have? Yes. But there was no advantage gain. It's second down and 9.5 now instead of second down and 15. So if you see it and it's blatant, get it. But something like this wasn't, so we leave it go. Does that answer his question, Coach? Maybe, maybe not, right?
Once again, we're here at Guaneri's Pizza and Pub in St. Mary's on Spring Street, home of the signature Big Ralph sub, pizza, and calzone. Just wanted to give everybody here and the pub themselves a good round of applause for having us out tonight. Thank you. We've got another question from the audience. Looks like Bobby Fitzgerald.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Hey, just wanted to check. When I was doing some research, it looks like there was a change in the 40-second clock or 45-second clock or the timer when setting the ball. Can you explain that to us? Because I'm not really sure when I read it what the heck was going on.
Okay, all right. So Bob has a question about the new rule change involving the 40-second play clock. That came into effect this year. Instead, it used to be a year ago and many, many years before that, when the ball, after a previous play was dead, basically there's a time span, 12 to 15 seconds, where the referee then is required, if the ball is down, to blow the ball ready for play. Now, because the powers that be at the national level decided that the referees weren't consistent in their ready for play whistles, now what happens is normally on a normal play, no penalties, no administrative stoppages, after the ball is dead, let's say there was a run for 5 yards, the 40-second play clock will start at the end of that play. So you'll hear no whistle from the referee on those types of plays, and instead of 25 seconds, it's 40 seconds. And when that 40 runs out, you got a delay of game penalty. Now, if we have to stop that for a penalty, a timeout, anything that's an administrative, occurrence in the game, we'll reset that play clock to 25 seconds, and then you'll hear the referee blow the whistle, and it's a normal 25-second deal. It's similar to what's in the college rule. He's got more.
As a follow-up to that, is there something that fans can do to watch the referee to know when that's happening as far as the change? You guys stop the clock at that point, or do you?
Yes,
rewind it?
Good question. If, for instance, and we've had occasion in our games where we couldn't get the ball down before the play clock gets down to 25, whether it's because of ball boys, whether it's a long pass, wherever, the referee is instructed to stop the game clock, play clock, and reset, and you'll see a signal, a pumping action that will reset the clock to 25. So the play clock operator's got to be alert, and most of the time they are. Sometimes they're not, but you'll reset that and then go from there. So it happens. It shouldn't happen a lot in the game, but it does happen.
All right, we got a question from former coach and former mayor of St. Mary's, Greg Freewall.
This is for our football official here. Could you explain to everybody the difference between high school, college, and the pros, if any, on the fair catch on a kickoff? And years ago, I remember, when the ball goes in the end zone, it's automatically down in high school. Right. Years ago, when that ball used to go in the end zone, if the receiving team did not touch it and the kickoff team did, it was a touchdown for them.
That may be true. To answer your first part of your question, well, let's answer the second part too. Normally, when the ball is kicked, punt, kickoff, or wherever, and the ball breaks the plane of the goal line, if it's not been possessed, the ball is dead as soon as it breaks the plane. They won't allow high school kids to run the ball out of the end zone. All right. So whether it touches the ground or not makes no difference. College, pros, if the ball breaks the plane and it's still in the air, they're free to run it out. Now, you should know also that between the college and the high school rules, there's over 250 differences, and that's one of them. All right. Now, you ask about the fair catch rules. I can't speak to the college game, but in high school, you get into whole fun things when we have a fair catch, and the team that's making the fair catch decides that they want to kick the football and not be harassed by the defense. So that has happened. I've seen it happen. I've been in a game where that has happened. And I don't know that Coach Fry has been involved in that, but he's aware. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. So he's hoping he gets a chance to do that sometime. But that's a funny thing to look at when the receiving team catches a football, fair catches it, and then says, look, we want to put the ball on the tee. Defense move back 10 yards, and we're going to try to kick it through the uprights for a field goal. Interesting play.
Any different in the NFL?
I have no idea what the NFL is like.
Okay, all right. We have a question from Sean Brown.
Hey, Mark, it's a question for you. And I guess I'm talking specifically an offensive lineman.
Okay.
But the ineligible man downfield on a pass play,
yes.
I simply don't understand that rule.
Okay. All right. So you first got to understand that the offense is required in normal plays, scrimmage plays, to have 5 men on the line of scrimmage numbered 50 through 79. All right. They can have more, but they must have at least that minimum. Anybody that's numbered outside that 50 through 79 is considered an eligible receiver if they take the correct position on the line. So an eligible man downfield's got to satisfy a numbering requirement and a positioning requirement. All right. So if you've got number, let's say 78 in the backfield, he can catch a backward pass, but he can't catch a forward pass because he's got the wrong number. He doesn't have a 0 through 49 or a 80 through 99.
Maybe to clarify, like blocking downfield, 5 yards or whatever.
All right, good question. So in high school rules, the linemen have a 2-yard, what they call an expanded neutral zone. Basically, it's 2 yards downfield from where the ball is snapped, where they can, fire out and block people. Once they go past that 2-yard belt and the ball is thrown across the line of scrimmage, then they are in danger of being called for an illegal man downfield. So we've seen some clips during the year where there's been a couple calls that's close. And what people don't understand is the lineman would be free to go as soon as the ball's released, not when it crosses the line of scrimmage. So that's kind of quick. So some of those calls that we saw might have been iffy because I think they're looking at when the ball crosses the line of scrimmage, not when the ball is released. Does that help? Great.
Mark, I got a follow-up to that. When they have to announce that the 78 is an eligible receiver, why do they do that?
Well, they don't do that in high school ball.
Oh, okay.
High school ball, you can't make an ineligible number just by telling the referee that it's they've got to do something different there because that doesn't work. High school or college pros, they can do something like that, but not in high school ball.
Bob Fitzgerald has another question for us.
I was prepared, so as we started this out, long-time listener, second-time caller. This is a question that resulted from a play in an overtime game that I'm not bitter about. But what I would like to know is, I know it's probably a referee or umpire or linesman judgment call, but at what point does the runner's forward motion stop? And then at what point do the referees finally say he's down versus letting him go for the 3 yards after he's been stopped for 3 seconds?
That's a great question. When is forward progress stopped? Well, the rule book says forward progress is stopped when the runner's forward motion is stopped or the runner is down. And Bob, you're right. It comes down to a judgment call on the official part as to when that forward progress is stopped. Running into a pile, you see that 2 or 3 guys and the runner is stopped straight up and he starts driven back. Forward progress is over at that point. Sometimes they'll run into a defender, bounce off, and continue on. Forward progress is not stopped at that point. And it becomes a judgment call on the official's part of where that is. Now, you also have to recognize that the whistle does not normally kill a play. The whistle by an official is just to confirm that the play is over. So sometimes you'll hear a slow whistle because we're giving the runner every opportunity to break free. You hear coaches say, blow the whistle, blow the whistle. Normally that's when the runner fumbles or it's been taken away. But a lot of times we'll rule him dead, so that fumble means nothing at that point. That help? All right.
We have any other questions out there tonight? While we're searching for some more questions, just wanted to again remind you and thank Guarneri's for having us here tonight. Guarneri's Pub and Pizzeria, home of the Big Ralph, the hoagies, calzones, and pizzas. Also, they've got Ride-A-Raid. I don't know if you've had any Ride-A-Raid, but you can get that before, during, or after the game. Stop in, try some Ride-A-Raid. It'll quench your thirst. Please give Guarneri's a call, 419-394-2244. So thanks again to Guarneri's. And we got a question here from Doug Spencer.
All righty, Mark, I've got a question. You got a ball thrown up in the air. Both the defender and the receiver are fair game to catch that ball.
Correct.
And they both catch it, both in their hands. They come down and they're fighting for it in order to gain possession of it. How does the official determine who actually has possession of that catch or interception?
What you're talking about there is a simultaneous catch. All right. And if it's truly simultaneous, once they come to the ground, the play's over. It's dead. So the offense is awarded the football by rule. In a simultaneous situation, same thing with the fumble on the ground. If you got 2 kids that are fussing for the ball and they both have equal possession, so to speak, chest to chest, wherever, the ball will be awarded to the offensive guy at that point. So it's just by rule. There's nothing we can do to pick one or the other if we truly rule simultaneous possessions. And you have it once in a great while. Most of the time, somebody will come away with it, but once in a while, they're both latched onto it, chest up, and you got to award it to the offensive guy. So,
Another question from Greg Freewalt.
This is for our knowledgeable football official. What year did they make it illegal to grab the face mask?
I have no idea. You might know that, but I don't.
I didn't know this was going to turn into trivia night here.
I'm not that old, I don't think.
You always played with face masks, right?
Play with face masks.
All right. I think this has turned in from just curiosity to trying to stump you. All right. Any other questions out there? We've got our very own Joe Herbert, former Rough Rider quarterback.
This has nothing to do with rules of the game.
All right.
So we're going to refocus somewhere else. I know this will come to a surprise to you, but you're not going to officiate forever.
Correct.
How does one get started as an official, and how do they work their way up to the high school level? And I say that with this in mind. Earlier in the year, we had a situation in Dayton where a player head-butted an official on the field. Is that a deterrent of somebody coming in who wants to be an official?
Sure, it's a deterrent. There's been studies done, and right now the entire country has a shortage of officials of all sports. Soccer's really bad. Football is right behind. And the studies show that activities by and you're not going to like to hear this, fans, parents are first and foremost in the forefront, coaches and players next. But yes, somebody watching that wants to get into football officiating and they see that happening, sure, they'll turn them off. But to get back to the positive side, to become a football official in the state of Ohio, you must take an adult officiating class, which consists of about 24 hours of classroom work, on-field experience, all right, taught by instructors that are accredited by the OHSAA, which I am one. And once you get past the classroom work and the on-field experience and work a year's worth of games at the lower levels, sub-varsity games, you can now apply to become what's a class 1, which enables you to do varsity games. Now, 2 years ago, you had to work 2 years at the lower level, but because there's a shortage of officials, part of the reason why they changed it is to get these guys in the system quicker. And it just takes snaps. It just takes looking at plays to become competent. And, after 30 plus years, I still don't know it all. Haven't worked the perfect game yet. When I do, I'll give it up right then. So
Now, my second part of that question is, speaking of officiating, how does an official get assigned to postseason games? And how do they get chosen to officiate at the highest level, a championship game?
The officials are chosen based on votes that are given by coaches, athletic directors, officials, secretaries, association secretaries, interpreters, instructors, and folks at the OHSAA level. There's a formula that's put out there. It's a fairly complicated formula, and you must get a minimum number of votes per se into that formula to be eligible. And then most of the time it works where the higher number of votes you get, the more games you work. Doesn't always work that way because the OHSAA has the right to basically pick and choose. And it happens because guys that are working on a Friday night may have been around forever and get lots of votes, but maybe they can't get up and down the field. If you'll notice in the last few years, you'll find very few of the officials working the state finals that can't move really well. They do really well. So it's weeding out some of those guys that maybe can't move as well as they used to. Doesn't mean they're bad officials. It just means that they can't get up and down the field like they like to see it, in the state finals. Does that help? All right.
All right, next we have a question from Mark Fetterjohn.
Mark, do you think that replay will ever become a part of high school football?
Replay is going to be a part of the state championships this year over in Canton. They're only going to use it for the finals. And that's only because they have cameras and TVs that are going to be there. I don't think you'll see it at the at the local level or any level lower than the state finals because there's just too much money involved. Yeah. I mean, we look at college games and you don't see replay in Division II or Division III only until they get to the national championship game. But of course, Division I, all those games are televised and they got all kinds of angles they can look at, but probably not in my career anyway.
Mark, do you know the rules behind that? Are they going to have coaches' challenges, or is it going to be every scoring play? Or
I have no idea. They've not come out with what's up yet. I look for that a little bit later as we get into postseason play, but I've not seen what the criteria will be.
All right, next we have a question from sponsor Laura Yelton of your Laura Yelton State Farm.
Thank you. I just wanted there to be a question from a female tonight. And my question goes back to officiating. Are there many female football referees?
That's a good question, Laura, and happy birthday, by the way. In the state of Ohio, there are a limited number of female officials. There's a crew in the Southwest that works out of the Springfield Association that I know has a female on the crew, and I think she may have even been here during the year or something like that. Yeah, the Cindy game. So you see a few of them. There are a few at the Division I college level, and I believe we have one or two in the pro level as well. So the OHSAA looks very kindly on that, trying to get people involved, and they have no problems with female officials working the game if they can do the job, and they certainly prove that they can. Yes.
For those of you that joined us late, we're here at Guarneri's Pub in St. Mary's on Spring Street. Great thing about Guarneri's, too, is we have the Big Ralph replay during the football games on Friday nights. So in between the first and second quarter, in between the third and fourth quarter, we have a replay, and sometimes we're able to get some video of one of Big Ralph's calls. It's a really neat feature of our Rider Nation station. By the way, we will be there this Friday at Salina. So we're going to have that game, and then we're going to have the final game at home against Defiance. So be sure to catch us on Rider Nation station. Sean?
I have two questions, both from Mark, one personal.
Okay.
Why was my tax return so much smaller this year than it was? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry, I'm prohibited from speaking to that because of IRS rules and regulations. Call me in the morning.
The real question was, say, for instance, a wide receiver that steps out of bounds, can they reestablish themselves? And if they can, how can they do it?
That's a great question. In high school football, if the receiver is not pushed, bumped, blocked out of bounds, he runs out on his own, even if accidentally, and then he comes back in, he's created a foul by coming back into the game. It would be an participation foul. So once he steps out on his own, he should just stay out because coming back in at the point he comes back in is a foul. Okay.
We got another question here.
All right.
Did you state your name for the camera?
My name is Jason Lammers, and I just wanted to know what your pregame ritual is before Friday night.
Starting when? Like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or something like that?
Yes.
Well, I've mellowed out over the years. It used to be, man, I couldn't concentrate on anything except football from 1 o'clock on Fridays. But once we get to the game site, we get to the locker room, we have an officials conference that we will talk about different things, maybe last week's game, but things have come up during the week from the OHSAA office, and it just helps to get our minds focused. There are some crews that do a great job with that, and there are others that can come together and work the game without the conference. That's not optimum, but it happens. So we're pretty focused. Guys that work for me, they've been with me for a while, and they know that I'm pretty serious on the field. We have a lot of fun, but the job, demands that we give the kids all that we can. So that's what we try to do.
We have any other questions? Oh, Dave Weibacher. Go ahead, Dave.
Hey, Mark. So throughout the year, we've looked at a number of clips, and you haven't been shy about pointing out when you think the official has made the wrong call,
right.
Either failed to make the call or made a call incorrectly. This is more philosophical than anything else. How do you deal with that when you feel that you blew a call or you didn't make the call when you should have? And just how do you cope with that?
It eats at you, even after 30 plus years for me. I mean, I'll admit it. We had a game Friday night where we probably should have enforced a foul, and we did it wrong. We just didn't follow through, and there are a couple things went wrong on that play. And was it a big deal at the time? No, it was not, but it could have been. And so, you got to put it aside during the game, but after the game, it still eats at me, and it still makes me think about, what we could have done right. So we'll talk about that this week when we go to our game. And, officials, believe it or not, really want to do the best that they can. And really, most of the time, have no preference on who wins or loses. I know coaches, fans don't sometimes understand that, but we're out there to try to do the best we can. But we're human. We'll miss things. Kids will miss blocks. Coaches will call the wrong play at times. It's a human game. It's a high school game. Doesn't lessen the importance of it, but it's a human thing. And, I think it's good for the game that we keep the human element in it when we can.
And when something like that happens during the game, are you willing to pick up the flag, or do you tell the people in your crew, hey, if you know that you've made a mistake throwing the flag, don't be shy about picking it up?
Well, yeah, and that happens sometimes. You'll see that on pass plays, possibly interference calls or blocks in the back, things of that nature that an official, there's only 5 of us, sometimes now 6, and there's 22 kids on the field. There's a lot of area to cover, and we don't have the best angles. Even with 7 guys or 8 at some of the levels, not the best angles. So, yeah, sometimes we'll get together and throw a flag or pick one up if we need to do that. So, it used to be taboo, but now they encourage us to get it right. And if we have to get together, we don't have replay, we have to make the call on the field.
Mark,
Call from Bob.
Bob Fitzgerald. This is another referee mechanics question.
Okay.
Can you tell me when the linesmen, when they mark the ball, can you tell me the difference between left foot and right foot? And when I believe it's is it the back judge that spots the ball?
The umpire.
The umpire.
The umpire normally is going to spot the ball.
When the umpire spots the ball, how he chooses which guy he's going to pick as the guy he's spotting the ball on?
That's a great question, because normally when the wing, we call them wing officials, head linesman or line judge, will spot the ball. It should be their downfield foot. In other words, the foot that's closest to the goal that the team's advancing to. All right, and normally it's the inside of that foot or on the toe, depends. And the umpire normally will spot the ball off of one of those wing guys. Now, in theory, each wing guy should be mirroring the other one. So in other words, if we've got the guy that's down on the 22-yard line, his partner should be at that same spot. So when the umpire turns around to place it, he'll have that same yard line. So you'll see him now. Used to be they'd have to turn around, get the ball off the guy that had the spot. But now if I'm coming to get it on the left hash and go back towards the middle of the field, I can use the opposite guy to spot it. All right? And quite honestly, are you going to be dead on? No. You're going to miss it by 3 or 4 inches possibly. But, if they're going to snap the ball again anyway. As you well as I know, football is a game of inches. So it really doesn't matter at that point. The only time it's going to matter is close to the first down stake. And then we try to freeze the ball to spot the balls down and bring the chains in at that point. Now, some crews will throw the ball around and spot it and then bring the chains in where they respot it. You shouldn't do that. It looks bad. It might be perfectly, right on, but it looks bad.
Well, I just noticed that one game, again, there was an overtime game, that the umpire seemed to always look for the furthest guy that was downfield to spot the ball, as opposed to, because they were off by a yard every time between the left and the right.
Yeah, see, that's not a good thing for the crew. They should be right on, and if they're not, they should make themselves that. And obviously, one of the officials is going to have a better look than the other, depending on which way the runner falls and who's seeing the football. So we're not perfect. You're welcome.
Logan Yelton here.
Logan.
The biggest question I have is, how do you guys choose, or the OHSAA choose who's with who as far as the crew goes on the field?
On the crew?
Yes.
Well, they really don't until the playoffs start, until the tournament starts. They will assign guys for the tournament crews. All right. But during the regular season, there still might be parts of the state where the local association will assign individual guys to a game. But in most parts of the state, the crews just kind of put themselves together and they'll work all season together. I mean, I've worked with the same guys for years with the exception of a guy dropping off or coming on. But I've had 4 of my guys with me for 18, 20 years. We got a new guy this year, but he's worked for 6 or 7. So we just kind of pick and choose who we best. And we seem to get along fine with. Some crews do, some crews don't. There's guys move around all the time. Does that help? You looking to get in?
Absolutely.
Are you looking to get in? I can help you with that.
I don't know a lick about football. But
There's always basketball, soccer, or maybe baseball, softball too.
Do we have any other questions? There comes one.
There he is.
This is for Mark.
There's
Rich
my
Heil.
umpire, Mr. Rich Heil.
I heard the questions about the umpire picking on me tonight. All right, Mark, put you on the spot.
Go.
What's the best, newest rule ever and why?
The best newest rule, 40-second play clock followed closely by the 30-point differential rule. No, okay, well, Rich likes them the other way, but the 40-second play clock has made it easier for me as a referee, and it's made the game a little bit more consistent. It's not sped up the game any in our experience, but it has made it more consistent. And the other thing is the 30-second or the 30-point differential, which, by the way, can happen in the first half by agreement of the opposing coaches. So that's possible. You see very few coaches will agree to that. Some do, but it is possible because once you're down 30 points, the chance of coming back is slim. Once you get under the 30 points, let's say in the second half, you can revert back to the normal timing rules. So it's possible to do that.
Mark, do they have to agree to that in advance of the game, or can they do it on the fly?
No, if we're going to go to the 30-point, running clock in the first half, it's during the game. We would just go to the coaches and ask them or wherever. Second half, it's by rule. We just go. So looks like we're good.
If I don't see too many other people coming forward, so we should be. I think that's about going to be wrap up our time here tonight. If you got value in tonight's program, if you enjoyed it along with our other video, we hope that you subscribe, like our Facebook page, share it on YouTube and Facebook. We hope to grow the Rider Nation station that way. So if you enjoyed it tonight, that's one of the things that we ask you to do. Also, please support our sponsors. We couldn't get this show done without our sponsors. And on that note, we want to thank, again, Guarneri's Pizza and Pub here on Spring Street in St. Mary's, Ohio. Let's give a round of applause for Guarneri's. For Rider Nation Station and Mark Sisko, I'm Zach Farrell. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We'll see you Friday for Salina, and we'll be back here next Thursday for Rules of the Game, here again at 7:30, Guarneri's Pub. So see you Friday and next Thursday here at Guarneri's Pub for Rules of the Game with Mark Sisko. Thank you.
Thank you, man.